and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. There has been a surge in infections caused by the Human Metapneumovirus, which is HMPV, that has been reported in China as the administration steps up screening, detection and isolation protocols to deal with unknown pathogens. Videos on social media show hospitals and crematoriums overburdened by large crowds of masked people. The HMPV cases are reportedly rising, especially among those under 14 in northern provinces. This mysterious respiratory virus is reportedly spreading like COVID-19 through touch and contact with contaminated objects. Common symptoms include cough, fever, nasal congestion, sore throat and shortness of breath. According to Center for Disease Control and Prevention, severe cases can lead to pneumonia, bronchitis and white lung syndrome. Reports indicate that incubation period ranges from 3 to 6 days depending on the severity of the case. Now, as per the CDC, this virus circulates in distinct annual seasons. It starts in winters, lasts up until spring. As of now, there is no specific antiviral therapy or vaccine that is available to cure this virus. The question is, should India be prepared, and can this potentially turn into another world health crisis similar to COVID-19? I'm going to start my conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Andrew KP Leong. He joins me from Hong Kong. And Mr. Leong, what exactly is happening on the ground? Because obviously international media does not have access to what's happening in the hospitals and crematoriums in China, but there are a number of these visuals that have appeared on social media where we are seeing that there is large number of queues of people who are in the hospitals. The crematoriums are overburdened. There is this new virus that is doing the rounds, which is HMPV, and it is particularly targeting younger people.
Well, first of all, I'm not a scientist or a physician, but I Googled it, I found it. The information surrounding this so-called virus, and it is, as you said, is called Human Metapneumovirus. But actually, it was not a new virus. It was discovered first in the world in 2001 in the Netherlands, and then it bears very close resemblance with the common flu. And you can see that people are affected, then coughing, and then some people short of breath, and then sneezing, and then mostly the symptoms will pass away in about a week to 10 days. So very similar to the common cold. The fact is that, of course, it affects the upper respiratory tract, and then for people with a weaker constitution, particularly younger people under the age of 14, and also elderly people like myself. I got a cold, sort of something similar, very similar to that, a couple of weeks ago. But then during the winter time, especially the transitioning from summer to winter, and every year, everywhere, it's the same. I mean, Hong Kong, of course, during the past many years, during this weather, lots of people flocking to the hospitals, suffering from cold and the kind of the similar kind of virus. And now, of course, there is no cure for the common cold either. But not to downplay the importance of this, of course, learning from the experience of the coronavirus, I think the Chinese government has been on the alert, and they are following this with tests and so on. But I don't think that there is any panic, as some reports trying to put it. In fact, the same kind of virus, I found this on the internet, also happened in the United States in 2023 in March.
Okay.
You can Google that, you can find it happening. So I think that this is by no means a new virus. It is, of course, it is more severe than before. It's affecting the people with.
But is it true that the number of cases are rapidly rising? Is it true that there are a number of cases that are rapidly rising, particularly in the northern province of China?
No, I think that this, as
And
I
also
said, I
because
mean,
visuals that are the hospitals and crematoriums at this point of time overburdened, because the only way of finding out is I don't know, if a Chinese official were to make such statements, it would be because the world will take it with a pinch of salt.
well, I think that you can Google that not a new virus. It's been around for over 2 decades, and it
Okay,
happened in the United States in March 2003,
okay,
2023,
okay,
and then during the it happens during the change of the seasons. It's affecting a lot of people, not only in on the mainland but also in Hong Kong and elsewhere. But of course, that this is a much more severe, and I said the Chinese government is following this. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is following this very closely. But there's no panic. I don't think that there is any
okay.
people need to be too
Okay.
panicky about it.
Okay, all right. Dr. PSV Rao, if you could shed more light into the symptoms and how severe this virus could be, and is there a possibility that it could spill out from the Chinese mainland and into neighboring countries or even the rest of the world?
Good evening, Mega and panelists and viewers. Yes, it is always a matter of concern when there is a major outbreak of any of these respiratory viruses, because they could possibly lead to a spread and a epidemic or a worse, a pandemic. Now, what is common to this, to the coronavirus pandemic and to the SARS virus and many of the influenza pandemics that have occurred in the past, is that invariably it starts in December, which is the flu season, when a lot of these influenza, respiratory infection and viruses spread. So, and in January, there is a Chinese New Year, when there is a lot of movement of the Chinese people for their New Year celebrations. So there is a chance that this could spread. Now, none of these viruses are new, I agree on that. But these viruses keep changing. They keep developing new variants. And often, if we do have vaccines for influenza viruses, but these viruses have to be updated on a regular basis. It is updated once a year for the northern hemisphere of the earth, and again 6 months later for the southern hemisphere. And here there are a mix of viruses which are being mentioned. There is the human metapneumovirus. Agreed, it is a known virus. It has been around, and it is in various parts of the world, but we don't know if this is a new variant of it, which may spread.
Okay, all right,
this is more worrying for children, especially those below 5 who have not been around when the coronavirus hit all of us.
Okay, Naresh Chawla ji, thank you for joining me on the telecast. And the most crucial question that, and the Chinese government and the medics will be able to corroborate to that and also give us information, because right now it's a guessing game. We have these visuals that we had put on air, and what was concerning was that there were so many children, and these hospitals in those regions in northern province were overcrowded, and there obviously seemed to be a paucity of doctors who were attending to these patients. Do you think that at this point of time is the Chinese administration and the medical system equipped to handle these large number of cases as are being reported?
Okay, I shall be speaking largely about the medical and clinical aspects. As you know very well, as China is a mystery land, everything has to be guessed. So how serious is that? And let me tell you, even after the corona pandemic and the second or third wave was over, we heard of many more waves. They were not corroborated or verified, so we never took them seriously. That time also we were asked, can the same wave come in India or not? So first thing, this is a human metapneumovirus, is a respiratory virus, and don't forget, whatever we speak, since it is a public channel and people listen to it, in India, panickiness spreads fast. So let me tell you, even the same time as our panelist from Hong Kong was saying, that it happens in India otherwise also. In India also, in OPD nowadays we are seeing increased number of cases of flu, influenza. So, as you know, the laboratory system in Delhi and NCR or in other parts of India is not that elaborate. So we never come to know of it. So first thing which people since don't mind since morning at least dozen patients have asked me, doctor, is it going to come in India? So let me tell you, there is nothing of that sort coming in India. Number one, it is not a new virus, it is an old virus. Yes, the so-called influenza and all these viruses, they tend to mutate very fast. They tend to come again and again, and particularly the children below 5 and the elderly people. Let me tell you, in India, we have a huge load of elderly people and people who have other comorbid conditions like some like uncontrolled diabetes, some organ transplant patient, some HIV patient, some chronic diseases patients, all those people, elderly people who are 60, 70 plus, who
Okay.
are living the life on, listen, let me complete, who are the living the life on an edge. Let me tell you, they are the people who need to be protected. The whole conclusion of this story is these people must be protected. We have the influenza flu vaccine in India, which should be taken in October every year. We have the pneumococcus vaccine, which should be taken every year to all these serious category of patients and all the senior patients. And
Okay,
plus
all
our
right, sir.
children,
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Joyita, quickly coming to you and getting your perception of the situation, which seems to have escalated in certain parts of China. Again, the world becomes wary because of the viruses that end up spreading in China, because we already have a precedent that has been set some years ago, which was the COVID-19 pandemic that spread mayhem across the globe and killed millions and millions of people. Now, do you think this concern is legitimate, or we are just worrying too much?
Well, concern is any day legitimate given the history. What happened, if you remember, January 2020, there was a virus outbreak in China and it was handled pretty badly at that time. As it was mentioned earlier, January is their new year and that is the travel season. The Xi Jinping had apparently stopped the domestic flights, but allowed the Chinese revelers to spread all across the globe, because of which COVID traveled all over the world. So, the thing is, you see, let us hope, and the problem with COVID, while I agree that this could be, this virus may have been around for a long time, so was the SARS that SARS virus was also around for a long time. But the what we saw, particularly I would say in 2020 and 2021, it was a deadly virus. And think of the number of people who were killed. I mean, so many people we personally knew who died because of that particular virus. I mean, it left a trail of death and destruction. It destroyed the world economy. I mean, so many people ended up with heart disease, with kidney disease. So, this is, I mean, what we have witnessed, it was really bad, and it is but natural that we will be worried.
Okay.
So, yes, we should be alert about it. We should in fact not let any direct flights between China and India right now, no way. So that I mean our experience has been absolutely horrendous, and we have every reason to be skeptical, wary and worried about this.
Andrew, coming back to you now, how do you react to this? And do you think such stringent action needs to be taken by nations, keeping in mind, like I said, the history that we have seen in 2019 when COVID spread? And second of all, how are the medical agencies in China, and particularly in the northern province, equipped to handle this? I mean, pictures speak 1,000 words, and when you take a look at those pictures, it's clearly the overcrowded hospitals and crematoriums that are causing worry across the globe.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think first of all, there is no comparison with the coronavirus, because when it happened, the coronavirus was entirely unknown. It was at the beginning when it happened in China, and I mean, people were too puzzled, and that's why in the beginning There was a blackout on information because no one knew what this virus was all about and how serious it was. But very quickly, after the first 2 weeks or so, China shared the information with the world, with Lancet and all the other international institutions, and it was only other countries belittle this virus. For example, in the United States, and the former President, the first presidency, President Trump, thought it was just nothing, and that led to the quick spread in other countries. So there is no comparison, as I said at the beginning. This is not, repeat, not a new virus. It is found, identified almost more than 20 years ago, and it bears very close similarities with the common cold. But of course, it is much more severe this time. And of course, with the common cold, as our colleague, expert doctor pointed out, common cold could mutate very quickly, affecting the upper respiratory or organs.
Right, but then
I
is
was
this
saying this with some sort of,
is the medical system,
So I think that people
is the
need to be
medical system
careful.
equipped? Is the medical system in China equipped to take care of all these cases? Because, like I said, there's overcrowding everywhere, not just the hospitals, but also at crematoriums.
Well, I mean, at the hospitals, of course, during this time, I was saying I had experience, and I was in hospital about 2 weeks ago because of this cold, and then affecting me as well. I mean, it was coughing, as what happened every year. Every year to a change of season, but this year it was particularly severe, and I got over it, and it was like the doctor told me there was no cure. It's not a common cold. I was given injections, and then well, it passed away.
Okay.
And of course, being somewhat advanced in age, I'm no longer young. Of course, it affected me more severely compared with other people. But I don't think there was any comparison with the coronavirus, because this is by no means a new virus. It is connected with, bears very great similarities with what happened with the common flu during the changing weather.
Dr. Rao, how whether it is severe or whether we should not worry about it, what are the precautions that can be taken by people to ensure that they do not catch the virus, if at all it travels to India?
We don't need to be worried. We need to be concerned, and concerned about the spread of this virus or any of these respiratory viruses. These are communicable diseases and can spread. And so the efforts that we should need to put is to check all people who are flying in from areas which are having this respiratory infection in China. Secondly, all of us would be better off using N95 masks and avoiding crowded places and taking basic hygiene measures, like if you touching various doorknobs and other public facilities. We should keep our hands clean and avoid, I think one other suggestion would be, so instead of shaking hands with some stranger, please do your namaskara and keep a safe distance. And we should take special measures in for children and for those who are immunocompromised. Dr. Naresh Chawla already listed the various people who may be immunocompromised, but children specifically, because these viruses, two of the viruses which have been mentioned, are specifically seen more often in children than in adults. So we should take care of that also.
Okay,
and
all right.
where possible, take vaccine.
Yeah, Naresh Chawla, again, should they be, I understand there is only maybe a small percentage of people in our country who would take their annual vaccines when it comes to fighting these respiratory diseases that are an annual affair, particularly during, the change of season and the winters that are very harsh in Delhi and the northern parts of the country. Should it be made mandatory to take vaccines to fight the virus?
Listen to me very carefully. First thing, the advice or suggestion to my fellow Indians is nothing to worry. Number one, that whatever is happening in China in the northern province, we need to watch it more closely. Obviously, the international quarantine, etc., and flight, etc., is a government affair. The government of India has yet not issued any advisory per se. So I'll tell my people, number one, take all the corona protocol measures. Simplest, all the children, all the elderly people, and the people who have comorbid conditions need use the simplest thing when they go out is to use N95 mask, as Dr. Rao said it. Number two, don't forget in India we have many of our meetings and many gatherings. And for example, elections keep occurring. Kumbh is only next month, this month only. Can you expect in last time in 2021? The Calcutta elections and the Kumbh created the huge this thing and the huge load of diseases you occurred all. So what do we do? Number one, ban the gatherings or lessen the gatherings. So government has to do its measures and the people and the public have to do their own measures. People need to be careful themselves. People cannot say that government need to do everything. So simple precautions are need to be taken by people about their diet part, about their immunity part, about their protection part. This is people's affair. I think the government, the Ministry of Health needs to watch it very carefully because the lady panelist warned the same thing happened in 2020 also. But we are not suspecting anything big of that type now. Let's
okay, sir. All right, Jayita, coming back to you now. A situation such as this, are we saying this has been blown out of proportion, or is the world right in raising concerns over here? And as Andrew said, that this is a virus. This did not originate in China. This is a virus that has erupted, but one has no reason to worry about because and compare it to COVID.
Well, first of all, what is needed here is transparency. China needs to make all information public, and because it did not make any information public, that COVID spread so horrendously in 2020. January, February onwards. They did not make anything. They did not even inform WHO initially. And you see, so let us not try to rewrite history why it was not China's fault when it came to COVID. It was 100% China's fault. So let us hope, given what its record has been, all of us should be wary. Okay, we are not going to worry maybe. Fine, if the experts are saying do not worry. But you see, history is bad. I mean, that particular virus sucked 2 years out of everybody's life, the whole world. We cannot afford another disruption like that. Apart from that, that economies went totally bad. So the ripple effects are still being felt. And again, I mean, why is it that China is the only country in the world that keeps, coming up with these viruses? Why is it that it happens every year, almost every year? We keep hearing this virus is coming out of China, that virus is coming out of China. What exactly are they doing wrong?
Okay.
The world has a right to know.
Okay, all right. That's a valid question. Andrew, would you like to respond?
Sorry?
Would you like to respond? Would you like to respond? Particularly, why is it that China is so is at the receiving end when it comes to viruses that emerge out of different parts of the country?
No, I think that the coronavirus experience was quite unfortunate. As I said at the beginning, it was a completely new virus, and no one knew in the world what that virus was. And so there was an initial blackout, which led to a great deal of misunderstanding. But as I was saying, China quickly shared the information, the DNAs and all that internationally. And then how the other countries responded to it to various degrees resulted in different scenarios affecting a lot of people around the world. But that is, as I said, there's no comparison with that. This is an old virus.
Okay.
I mean, but I think that people need to, as my colleagues on the panel was saying, people need to be more careful because it's more severe, particularly the vulnerable people, the children, and people go out and they wear masks. And when I go out, I put on my mask and when there are people in the room, especially during this change of weather. And of course, be very careful if your conditions are particularly weak as far as the upper respiratory system is concerned, because as again pointed out, this virus and with the common cold as well, it has a tendency to spread into something much worse, affecting the lungs and so on. So I
Okay.
think that the people need to be
Okay.
more careful, but not to panic as if this is a completely new virus.
Okay, all right. With that, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. I'll take a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.